We are in the future.
Yes, we are in the future.
So we are on the radio now.
Yeah, clearly.
What was it? Lights, camera, action. Today's visit is in the studio of Gregoire Rousseau.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And you come from France. You're a
Sound artist, visual artist, radio artist. I embrace all form of art.
And you are based in Helsinki. Since when?
I moved a long time ago. I've been precisely in this studio for like 15 years.
15 in this space. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, of course, it took different form, it took different shapes and different people were in, but I've been constantly based here as artist. That's my studio. I love it a lot. As you cannot see, there is no window, but still I enjoy. And
it's a very cozy basement space.
Yes, I think so. I call it a bit basement as a joke, but I think I think that I managed to turn this no window into good space to work, because it's with the window you have this aspect of time. I mean, maybe not so much in winter now, but you can see the day or maybe some kind of light from outside, but there I don't see anything. So when I need just to focus and do things, then I don't have any other input.
Well, yeah, this is going to be the first episode of 2025.
Welcome.
So
Happy New Year.
New Year. I've done a bit of, at least thinking to do a bit of changes to the podcast. So I usually would ask people about the studio in the end of the talk, but I think that it's good to flip that. And now let's talk about it first, because you anyway mentioned already. So how big is this space?
It's between 25 and 30 square meters. It's not the maximum basement one can get in this building, because it depends on the street. I am at the street level of another street than the one you got in Nielsen-Katu. So this is, I don't know if it's first or second, but it's maybe, let's call it the first basement of what used to be the Orion factory back in the days.
So Orion factory?
Yeah, the pharmaceutical company, Orion.
Really?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Wow. So they would have some hidden documents here in cupboards or something like.
There are different. I don't know if it is rumors or urban legend on what was produced here, but you can see that it's an old building, because old factory building, because the floor is not even. In some floors you can see the floor is like this, because they build it to store stuff, not exactly for office or artist studio as it is now. So it's.
But as we know, artists are very adaptable people. So
yes, but at the same time, it's a good thing, because it doesn't reach this certain level that fancy company would actually want to come here.
So that's why it's been for so long an artist studios building.
That is part of it, yes.
Okay.
That is part of it, because otherwise it would have been taken over and used for expensive designer, architect, advertising company. But there are a couple of things that prevent to go that way, which is good.
Interesting.
Yes.
I hope we don't hear too much of the musicians rehearsing around us, but if we do, that's just life. So are you sharing it with somebody?
Yes, at the time I am sharing with my good friend Alex, that you know.
This is how I came to know about you from your roommate.
Exactly. You want to know the story, or you want to know?
I want to know every story you want to share, so
okay.
Whatever.
So it was in 2020 I got residency in Cité des Arts in Paris, but then in 2020 happened COVID, so it was postponed from the April, May, June, something like that. It was postponed to October, November, December, and this time I had a bit more time to plan, and I thought, because I was alone at the time, and then I thought that it's kind of very stupid that there will be such a space like that I think is quite nice, that it will be empty and no used, and still I pay. So I thought, let's see if I find someone that would like to sub-rent it, so that at least part of the rent is paid and someone use it. It's not like totally empty and like full loss. At least someone using it. And it happened that couple of months before I was invited for lecture performance in Bergen, Norway. And Alex and Marlos were there. So we met there and then we got friends. And I think I remembered that Alex mentioned that he didn't have studio. Maybe it would be good for him. So I just contacted a couple of friends. This studio, my studio is open for 3 months. Do you want to sub-rent the time I am away?
Nice.
And Alex said yes. And then when I got back from... I will make the story semi-short. When I got back... I mean, it was nice to have Alex, and he's paying half of the rent. The social dynamic happens quite good because I will make story short. I some time ago I decided that weekend is with family. Greetings, Emilia, Felix, Matilda, nice, and two more follow kind of office hours. But Alex is a bit more free, and sometimes he comes here on weekends. So, and usually not so much the morning. So I think that we have a right balance. I think it's right balance of work, and we are almost in the same field. So I can talk about my stuff, he can talk about his stuff, and I think it's quite nice dynamic here. He likes beer, I like beer.
And you are now here, both of you, for now 4 years or something about? So
yeah, something like that. Yeah, 4 years.
It must be a good dynamic.
Oh yeah, but yes.
Yeah.
When you love, you don't count.
You know, Marluz has been also a guest of mine on the
podcast. Great.
So you have had both studio alone and with another person, apparently.
Yes, because when we got first studio, it was together with Samuli Tanner, very, very good friend of mine, and some other people.
Like more than one person in the same room? Or
yeah. In the first place, it was sound studio. It was sound studio. It was organized very differently. And when we had this studio in the very first place, it was not yet taken over by the real estate company. So it was Orion. So they had just the plan to make money out of an empty building, but no plan to develop further. So once this was taken over by the real estate company, then they changed the full configuration, because most of the wall you see outside here, it's just this wooden wall, kind of cheap
it's
stuff.
Built later.
Yeah, it's built later.
Okay.
So the studio we have here is the only space at this floor that is actually with a real wall. And that's why, like, this we built. I mean, you can see those kind of soundproof stuff in the ceiling. It's for the sound studio. I mean, I think those are the only trace of what was the sound studio in the first place.
So you have never had another studio. You have always been here since you decided to have a studio.
Yeah. I came here, I was very satisfied, so I don't know why I would change it. I'm satisfied. The only change that happened is that now we have as well another studio in front that is more experimental audio, that is shared by, let's say, 5-6 different people, and it's more experimental electronics. They have the kind of audio electronics laboratory, a drum, different set, synthesizer, and all that. I just have one shelf there. I used to have more space. This would lead to another long story, but it's very good dynamic between the two studios, and it's good thing to have this social life happening in the
definitely
in the building, but as well at the floor level. I know the neighbors, and I know their good and bad habit. That's nice.
Yeah. I usually ask people about this need to have people around you, or like not everybody necessarily feels that they have that need, but I think it's very important to be able to share, with others.
Yes, the building is full of artists, and most of them I know friends from previous adventures. But just the corridor here is quite nice. The next door is quite very good organized sound studio, with proper drum, proper guitar. It was built by professional people, which means that they took the space with those not so good wood wall, and then they built some other better wall inside. Like they built a box inside the box to make it soundproof and double door. I mean, I would not say like professional audio recording, but quite good. Like they can record stuff that can become an album that people buy.
Wow.
And then next door is the If Society.
If Society? What's If Society?
It's quite famous old record label in Finland. And punk band as well. Very interesting. The Modem is playing there, and some other bands. It's nice. And then some others around. It's good. It's nice community. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It's not that we found each other and then we are friends and like it's like party time. No, I mean, we know each other. We see them. We greet each other, and it's a good community.
I mean, you're here also to work, so better not party the whole time anyway.
No, the whole time. But something that is like the unsaid, or maybe one of the unsaid rule here is that after 5 you can get as loud as you want. Nobody's going to complain because there's no point to complain. That's the rule.
Which is a bummer for our sound, but hey, what can you do?
Exactly, yeah.
So what would you say is your favorite element of the studio?
How about the studio? The studio is an element on its own. Like no, but it's true that something I keep in mind. The first time ever that I had budget for, I don't know, whatever project, the first thing I bought was those Genelec speakers and the Yamaha mixer. It is something that now that I have the studio for quite a long time, it is something that I don't know how people can do or be in life not having the possibility to put the songs or whatever like maximum loud. I do that every now and then. You just put it like mad loud, everybody in the floor is like fucking crazy, but at least you have the possibility to do it, and if you do it like late enough, it doesn't disturb anyone, and then you have this possibility to have full blast. It's really nice.
That's a tip for everybody who would want to.
Yeah, I totally recommend it.
What's the first thing to do? Buy good speakers.
Yeah, I totally recommend it. I mean, good speakers like Genelec or like strong Yamaha or whatever, like good solid brand is something you will keep all your life, and then you can transmit to generation. Like those, they are not going to move anywhere. It's forever, my friend.
Let's roll back a little bit. I'd like to somehow put things in context, because you are now here in the stage of life that you are in, but how did you get to it? How did you get to this place? When you were a kid, were you thinking I'm going to be an artist one day?
I'm just very happy to be where I am now, and where I am now was based on very conscious decisions.
Maybe it's good to mention that you were not an artist, like you didn't go to school and then art academy, how some people just flow into that somewhat naturally. But from what I read about you on your website, you were an electrical engineer.
I am. Once you get the diploma, you have it forever.
Yes. And that's very interesting to me, how somebody who didn't go to study to be an artist initially, like from the get-go.
That is your question. As usually, one decision is multi-determination. Back in France, before I moved here, I was very much involved in the punk and techno/rave scene. I was somehow running a squad there. So we would basically we would go to skate park in afternoon. Then we would go to a punk concert in the evening, and then later on I would organize the techno rave in my squad at the time. So basically that was the framework. So I got acquainted with electronic music that way. That would be a story of its own. But I always been let's say careful of sound in that sense, and the education, the professional education I received as electronic engineer made me realize that technical term in sound engineering had exactly some kind of mirror to the scientific or technological way to describe. Sound is as well electrical waves, which means that the current in the electronic circuit is exactly the sound wave that we hear through the membrane of the speaker. So in audio technology, some devices will do exactly the same thing as devices in electronic lab, but they don't have the same name, but they produce the same wave. And at some point I realized that, but I mean, I was just in the lab doing some testing for the, maybe not evaluation, but you know, when you're in the laboratory and then you do some testing for some device or some circuit, I forgot the name, when you are at university. And from the previous group, one small loudspeaker was left on the table. So I thought, okay, what happens if I connect this loudspeaker to this device? And then it was making sound. I was like, okay. So, you know, at some point everything clicked. And I thought, okay, so this knowledge, this formal knowledge that I have from university or Institute of Technology is not that separate from the electronic music that I know. Actually, it connects very clearly. So I thought that now the knowledge I have, I can apply it to this field and I can produce sound instruments. First, I build very basic instruments to really understand how it works, because you need to respect a couple of things so that it actually works. And then I started to think that I can build sound devices according to the sound that I would like to hear that I have not heard before. So I started to experiment. First, I would say that I follow somehow a linear progression. First, you design instruments that generate sound. Of course, after that, you are interested in how to modify the waveform. So this is filters, you have a wide range of filters. But then I got interested in multiplexer, which is a way to divide sound according to time. So I got a bit to this conceptual approach, I think, to sound. I think that would be maybe my step into artistic practice through sound. It was having some kind of visibility and space to develop because of the studio here. I think it's very important for any artistic practice to have its own space. Different time correspond to different space, and the space the one wants to produce is very much involved in what will be produced at the end. I think it's very rare that, let's say, a painter with a very small studio would paint a frame that is 5 meters times 3 meters.
As you say, even conceptually, I think that it changes the way you think about things, depending on the space where you are in.
Yes.
But what made you come to Finland?
I followed a crazy woman here, and then we have 3 kids. If I had not found my own somehow position in Finland, it would have been very difficult. I think love is a good thing to move, but then I am very glad that I could define my own context as well.
And did you study art at some point?
Yes, later on. I graduated from Fine Art Academy sculpture department.
Do you find similarities between radio and podcasts?
Definitely. Podcast is a form of radio, and during I would not say research as such, but the practice of radio, especially in the framework of Lumbung Radio, that we Station of Commons coordinated for Documenta 15, I came to realize that radio is not what one think it is when closing the eyes. You know, like usually when we think radio, closing the eyes, we see a radio studio with different mic, professional plays that goes right on air with one technician doing the thing, and then the sound that goes to a big antenna, and then the big antenna is received by some other people listening to a fridge-size type of radio. No, this was
the thing.
No, but I mean, it's a very cliche, but this is still when everybody knows that we are in 2025. But But
we are in the future.
Yes, we are in the future. I think that now radio is any collective or not, that, let's say, institution that produces sound on regular basis.
So we are on the radio now.
Yeah, clearly radio. That's why radio has so much to do with publishing practice. I mean, books and like publishing practices. I think it's having a lot in common. Part of my doctoral research and my own interest as well is collective practice. Collective practice can take many ways, many political direction. The one that I am most interested is commoning practices, like commons, let's say. Then, when thinking of collective artistic practice, I think that the number one example is video or movies. Yes, because beside in France, where there is like cinéma d'auteur, where the one person is doing like the everything, like buying the movies, handling the camera, thinking of the idea, acting, editing, and distributing. Most of the time there is one person who has an idea, and then another person like handling the camera that knows the films better, someone handling the recording of the sound if there is, someone doing the light. I mean, like it's a collective work.
Yeah.
And it's one process that is achieved through collective work, and each person in the collective and the collective itself has the input on what is considered the final moving image at the end. But I think that radio practice is maybe more interesting in terms of distribution, and has more to do with publishing practices than video work, video art. Publishing practices and radio is collective effort for distribution of knowledge.
Okay.
That is the interesting part.
Yeah. So maybe now it's a good time to tell about your radio practice, and because you just very briefly mentioned how it was called, and it was in Documenta 15, but yes. Can you tell me a bit more about it? Because I mean, Documenta is a big forum.
It's a big space, yes. Again, it's going to be long story short. In 2020, together with Juan Gomez and Alain Rückling, we initiated, funded a Station of Commons, which was open source stream. When lockdown happened, even though we had ID before, just the lockdown somehow made it to happen in a faster and, now looking back, interesting way. Then this developed, we work with different institutions, some very grassroots, some others that even had the budget for us. And then we participated in Manifesta as well. And then we thought that it could be interesting to understand how digital online practices can find form in the physical space. So we had an exhibition in Oxasenka. Then for this program, Konstantinos joined. Then later on, Minerva joined. So we were kind of like growing collective. And in 2021, Framed organized a meeting with Juan Grupa, Farid, and Reza. We understood that we had many things to discuss, because Juan Grupa relates to audio practice quite much. And Station of Commons, the way we operate was functioning in kind of collective practice. I won't go into too much detail there. And at the time, the COVID pandemic, COVID-19 was still quite strong. I mean, not at its peak, but it was still there in society. So how to think how collective audio practices could find form in a time where the pandemic was still there was a bit difficult to imagine how it could be at the end. So the idea of radio was something that we could share, because Station of Commons is based on open source infrastructure. So we don't depend on the, let's say, mainstream private interest. So we thought that radio could be something we want to do. Then little by little, we joined the Documenta Lumbung network. And something important to realize when we mention radio is that outside Europe, actually, artist collective the roles are not so separated, but you know how it finds forms. There is like one part that finds forms, let's say, in more traditional space, where it can be museum, galleries, but there is always, let's say, the visual part, the radio part, and the publishing part, or press, including serigraphy, for instance. So when you work with, when you get to know collective from Mexico, for sure they have radio practice.
Uh-huh.
When you go to Southeast Asia, for sure artist collective will have radio practice. To Africa, I mean, Africa is a huge, but like I just mean like people I know. I mean, the one I have been now is Baza Center in Lubumbashi, Congo. They have radio, because radio is very strong practice in other parts than Europe, in that sense, because it really brings people together.
But why is Europe so like out of this?
I don't think that we have time to really go that deep to understand why Western society is so dividing people. Like this is, but we can compare. Like in very short time, we can compare that. Yes.
Okay.
So this radio thought together between Station of Commons and Run Group are developed, and then at some point it was gathering so much energy, so much people, that we decided to name it Lumbung Radio. Then during the Documenta 15, together with Eddie, that joint Station of Commons during this time, we were there basically the 100 days to record, interview, and when I mean record, it can be presentation, it can be informal talk, it can be very official concert, like all the range. So we have a huge archive of the sound, Documenta 15 sound. And at the end of Documenta, we called for Lumbung Radio Assembly, meaning that all the participants in the wide sense, which means people who have been contributing on regular basis, or people who just contributed with 1-2 hours of their own work, like we called an assembly of everyone. And we said, okay, what do? We have this, let's say, great energy, the digital infrastructure that is ready. What do we do with that? We can call it a day, and that was an experience, a project. We have learned so much from each other. We are so grateful. But is it something that we want to continue? Does it make sense? And most of people had the energy to say, okay, let's move on together. I would say that one of the maybe reason sounds a bit strong, but one of the articulation between Documenta and post-Documenta toward future is that none of the contributors, none of the radio in Lumbung Radio do produce specifically for Lumbung Radio, which means that Lumbung Radio does not commission any radio show. I call it radio show because this is how it is called in the digital infrastructure. It sounds a bit what it is not, but that's the idea. Which means, I mean, because as a short story again, Lumbung Radio is based on the curatorial concept of Rangrupa for Documenta 15, at least one of the driving concepts, that is Lumbung. And again, in very short, is that we share the surplus. Once you have what is needed for yourself, for your own sustainability, then you share your surplus. So it's not a special effort that is required, which means that most of the collective that we work with, they don't produce in the first intention for Lumbung Radio. They have their own situated practice and knowledges. They do their own things, like a DJ collective will have their DJ party, they will do their mixtape, they will produce for SoundCloud, or they will produce for their own things. So it's not such a big problem for them to share one part of what they produce anyway to Lumbung Radio.
And you would just go and record?
No. I mean, it's all over the world. So I don't think we can.
They didn't go, actually, all of them there for a while to do something?
No, I mean like Lumbung Radio now.
But during the forum, during the Documenta,
yes,
they were there, or were they?
I mean, you mean for the live event?
Yeah.
But that's a different story, because no, because I'm sorry, but like, to be precise, when it is a live event, let's say let's say a concert in Documenta, it's not the people playing, they are not Lumbung Radio. When it was Station of Commons recording a concert for Lumbung Radio.
Okay, yeah. So Lumbung Radio is still going?
Yes, yeah, very much, yes.
Okay, where can it be found?
Lumbungradio.org.
Okay.
And then from Station of Commons, and you find.
Yeah, I mean, when you look, you find for sure.
Yeah.
So this is one main theme in your practice generally, is the commons.
Yes.
Do you have other topics around it or other themes?
Let's say, like for the time being now, is that if there is something that I am interested is how do people still want to be together? This is something that is like, because we live in such a time of division, isolation, and individualism, self-entrepreneur, and those things. How is it that people still want to be together and do something together? Because this is not something that is for granted. And I think that at the time we speak, just artists organizing themselves is already very political. And I think that is very interesting to think how that can happen. Because we, artistic collective and even collective in general, they don't form for the sake of it. We are not, I mean, we don't come together for whatever reason, for no reason. So what is maybe this reason in a way? I mean, I use reason is not the right term, but you understand what I mean. How is it that this happened? Yes, there are different understanding how collective happens. Let's say even political understanding. You know, we have I don't know what is we anymore, but if we think like, let's say 100 years ago, one way to come together was the political part. Political and the avant-garde. There is one way. This is one form of political organization. Yes?
Yeah.
There is one line, and then if you're outside the line, you're not in the line, so you're outside. Something like that. Yeah. In short, for good or bad reasons, it's okay. Then maybe that 80s, 90s, 2000, maybe still a bit. Now, the identity politics. Yes. Then maybe that in 2025, we may have realized that identity politics can be so easily incorporated within the system. If we can learn from that, not deny or refuse or put to trash, but like learn from that. Like how else can we organize? Can we organize otherwise? Documenta 15 implemented a shift from representation to infrastructure, meaning that the way we relate to the system we are in, that promotes this individualism, individualization, and entrepreneurship, these kind of things. Is it because that we believe this system exists? Like in short terms, like a banknote. Do you really believe it is 10 euros and that is worth like X amount of carrots? Or this is something you believe? Or is it something that you use it because you're part of the system? Those are two different things. So if you give this value to this banknote is because it goes to your bank and it goes to this infrastructure. So the way to critique this system, this infrastructure, is to build other infrastructure. And radio can be one of them.
So what is your contribution to that radio now? After the
contribution is that Station of Commons been, I don't like this term, but very much creating Lumbung Radio from zero. And we've been coordinating for 2 years. And another very important value is decentralization. So it means that our work, Station of Commons work, will be to give the direction of Lumbung Radio to some other collective in the world. So we have 1 year to understand how to, let's say, transition the coordination. Because otherwise, it's not, I mean, it's not, that's not how it should be. You know, the coordination has to change. Lumbung Radio does not equal Station of Commons. Station of Commons was a great input, and I think very good job to coordinate, but now it's time to move on so that other people can do. Plus that, we work with people from Mexico, Indonesia, Congo, Bethlehem, Berlin, Paris, Tokyo. It cannot be only like Western based. It has to be shared. This is the thing. We've done our time, and something very happy. We talked about the past, so we can talk about something that happened very recently. That is the promo effort. It would have been great if you could have visited some months ago. I could have done promotion for this amazing book. So this is the Waves, Radio as Collective Imagination. That everything, 90% of the contribution originates from Lumbung Radio. Basically, the editorial board is Lumbung Radio. It was co-published with Misread, the Berlin Art Book Fair, that we've been collaborating with for 2 years. Next year, the 3rd edition. And we launched it in Berlin, AKW, on 13th of October. And very good book, very interesting on radio practice at large.
Can it be found somewhere in Helsinki?
Yes, you can find it in Amos Rex. We haven't been so super active to distribute it widely, but you can find it online. It's published by Misread, and you can find it there. It's a good book. Very collective effort, and I am not the most qualified to talk about it as I can talk about it, but I think that what is very interesting, maybe more conceptually, and maybe from the design part, is that this book is not a book as a final product. It's a collective book. So as well, it's Juan, who designed the book and part of member of Station of Commons, really described the book as a commoning object, which means that it's a collective object that we distribute together, and that we use it as well to understand better how we work together. I find it a great description, and it's not over yet.
But wait, there's more.
Yes, exactly. Another book just released in October as well. Radio as Radical Education, together with Art Academy or University of Art Hamburg, the art education department, and Alto and Station of Commons. It's very interesting book. It was a very fluid project, and this one as well can be found online or in Helsinki.
Where in Helsinki? Again in Amos Rex?
Yes, the same.
Yeah.
The same. This book happened in a very fluid manner. Hamburg University of Art, we've been collaborating with them on a regular basis, and they happen to have a budget. So they pay the coordination, thank you Malin, they pay the design and the proofreading, and Alto very kindly paid the printing, and it is contribution from dear friends that accepted to provide new text or discussions very rapidly, very kindly. So the overall process was very fluid. It was work, but it was not blood, sweat and tears. So the idea of this book is to distribute it and to have maximum visibility. So I'm very happy to give this one to you.
Oh, thank you.
Of course.
Oh, wow. I would want a bit of a later.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Yes.
Cool.
So this year has been very productive, 2 books, and then we participated in Misread, we participate in the Dakar Biennale as well. Many places and some other that I forget, I'm sorry.
Nice to hear, very nice.
Yeah, I think so.
Is there something coming up soon?
There will be a lot of action, but I don't want to...
Something you can share?
Yeah, I don't want to commit. I talk about things when I'm sure it happens. At the time we speak, many things will happen, but I cannot commit. Most probably Miss 325 will happen in Berlin in June. Most probably something in Helsinki in September, then some other plans. Like
Is there some place online where you share these things? Like, hey, this is happening. If somebody is curious.
As a very conscious decision, we decided that neither Station of Commons or Lumung Radio would have Instagram, Facebook, or this kind of thing. This is not part of the plan. I have my own Instagram and so on. I shouldn't touch the mic. I'm a bad person. But so I think that it's way better if the event that we work with and collaborate can handle this communication.
So that's how you share the word about the events.
Yeah. If in future we produce only Station of Commons event, you will hear about it.
Okay. Maybe on the website of the Station of Commons it says there.
Of course, but I don't expect people to visit a website on a regular basis.
Yeah, probably.
But we have our own channel, and in any case, we appreciate collaboration. So it means that if we work with some other institution, the institution can be in charge of the communication. I mean, in charge, like collectively understanding that the communication. And then we are old school. We use email.
There are people who refuse to use social media, for sure.
I think for a collective, it's out of mind. In the first place, that the way we, society, consume social media is beyond any limit. Like in 10 minutes, you can be. I mean, one can be seeing like I don't know, like hundred of images that goes like that. But then if one wants to make like proper, let's go there. If one wants to make like proper Instagram communication plan, it's a lot of work. It's really a lot of work.
Tell me about it.
Yes, no, but exactly. So it means that if a collective such as Station of Commons of Lumung Radio wants to be, because we work with professionals, so we know what it takes. It means that someone should be paid to do that, basically. But we don't have the resource.
Yeah.
So why implementing something that we don't sincerely value? I mean, we work in digital commoning, open source. So, okay, I have Instagram for myself, but what's the point for a artist collective that wants to reappropriate technology within the public space to deal with Instagram and then put time, effort, energy, stress into that? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a contradiction that we solve. Like that, everybody lives with contradiction, but that is maybe the limit. So it means, plus that sincerely, it would hurt my brain and hurt to dedicate resource at large for a content manager.
You touched upon a bit like this budget thing. How do you manage to sustain your practice generally?
Generally, I have 3 sources of income. 4, because I am electronic engineer. I worked in Fine Art Academy 10 years. I work for a huge technological project. So I still do, I don't advertise it anywhere, but I still do technological expertise for artists in Finland and international. So people every now and then ask me to do things. Yeah. So that is one source of income. Then I teach mechatronics in Alto. I teach art of writing in Alto as well for master. I teach some other things on less regular basis, so that is another source of income. Then when Station of Commons or Lumung Radio or Station of Commons for Lumung Radio is asked or commissioned for certain work, then that is another source of income. It's not, I mean, you ask me, so I tell you at large.
By all means.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not like each of those parts is like 3,000 euros a month. Like not at all.
No, a lot of this is kind of project based. It doesn't happen all the time.
Exactly. And at the time we speak, I am on my last year of a 3-year Taike grant, and I am lucky. I mean, lucky. I can decide with who I work when I work with someone. Is that
this is lucky, yeah, for sure.
I respect. I mean, and I really appreciate the person and the artwork. The little commission we get with Station of Commons is not. It's appreciated, but it's mostly in the form of how to say, like more when we get to work in Berlin, basically we get the travel and the accommodation and then a bit of money for the food and little bit of money on the side, but nothing that would compare to any real salary. But in any case, we have to, I don't know if negotiate, but understand the let's say the totality of the project. If you go to work with nice, interesting and productive people, professional people to build and produce a very good context, so that like new knowledge can be produced, you can share a lot, you can learn a lot. If at least if I get the money to get there, to have like proper accommodation, food, and so on, maybe I can consider that. Yeah. I don't need more.
One thing I usually ask people is, have you ever had this creative block moment?
I would not put it that way. I mean, you mean this like fear of the white page or this kind of things?
I mean, it's a pretty open field, because some people see it that way, some other people see it differently. Like some people have hard times to create because they lack the resources at that moment, or they have some personal crisis or something. Like there are many reasons for it. But yeah, okay. I think most commonly probably it is that fear of the white canvas thing.
There will be different way to answer your question. Because some people would say that it's a huge privilege just to be in this situation.
And it is, and
it is. So I'm not going to go that way. But what I would say is that when I commit to something, then I make it to happen, whatever it takes. So good way, bad way, and it's not a question of the luxury of whatever. You just have to put it together and then you make it to happen. Like, I don't think. And then if one is in such a situation that he has to produce because it is expected, then I am not sure if it is the right settings in the first place. That will be my answer.
Fair enough.
I don't know if it is fair. Life is not fair at all. Maybe that one possibility to think artist is that if we find artistic form, it's because we are not able to express it some other way. Meaning that, like, why to paint it if I can tell you what it is? I'm not a painter, but like, why would I like make sound if I know exactly what it is? If I can write down exactly what it is, maybe no. So that's why we have painting, we have sculptures, because we are able to express. I mean, if they make statues, sculptures in antiquity of their god because they wanted to express their religious like inspiration that we think we understand, and then something else. So I think that if one has this, I use the term inspiration, it's not inspiration, but like this idea, concept that are in the mind, then it has to find form at some point. So if those ideas are not there, then is it really a question to wonder why there is not those ideas in the mind? Maybe just do something else. Not in a bad way, very not in a bad way, but it's not, I don't think that one can like force or click so that those questions may be contradiction. We talked about space before, like this space of thought is there. And it's not a problem, it's good like that too.
But it could be sometimes momentary state.
Sure, yes, sure. But it's always. I will use the term process in between what we have in mind. How does it find form? Does it take time? Does it need some inspiration? Does it need this special moment?
Do you have a specific process of how you do your work?
No.
So depending on the project you do, it goes different.
I will tell something. I don't know if I like very much the term project, because project sounds like a management. A project is something with a clear with a clear timeline, within a certain time frame, within a certain budget to achieve like a certain product at the end. I mean, it's okay. I don't mind.
It doesn't have to be that. I see project differently than that. Like, because an art piece can take so many forms. You're saying, it takes different forms. And, even you work with sound a lot, you don't always only do sound, you do other things. So that's why I'm calling it project, because it's kind of like an umbrella, like a broader term. That's what I'm putting into the project. But of course, it can be a business project also for some people.
Yes.
But yeah, okay, when you work on your pieces.
At the same time, it's a bit difficult to answer, because I am very much involved in collective practice. So there is this dynamic happening there. Then regarding my doctoral research, I think that it's very formal.
I mean, yeah, doctoral research is a bit different.
No, I mean. No, but there is something happening in the mind, but then you have to read a couple of things, and then you have some ideas, but then it's the time to make it to happen that matters. But ideas, I don't know.
Do you go to exhibitions or?
Yes. I mean, when I was in art academy, or even before COVID, I used to go to maybe like 2-3 openings a week.
2-3 a week? Are there so many?
Yeah. I mean, if you look for it, yes.
Because I've noticed that it's usually one day that half the openings are happening in that one day.
Yeah,
and then 3 weeks later, same thing.
Yeah, I know. But like back in the days, I was working for art academy, so I knew everything. I went many places. But at the same time, yeah. But I mean, you find.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I used to go a lot in Finland since COVID. I mean, after COVID, I mean, it's very stupid to say like COVID, but anyway, it changed something.
It has changed.
It changed, and then at the same time, the landscape, gallery change, and I am not so much looking for new exhibition. Like, to be honest, now I go to exhibition when it is friends having exhibition. So it sounds a bit lame, but that is such. Yeah, basically nowadays, like 2025, I go to openings when I am invited, or when something like that. So I go to exhibition like on regular basis, way not as much as I used to, but
you go to sound art events. I know that nowadays the sound art is things are happening.
The same. I would be stupid. I used to go to concert way more. I don't go as much as I used to, which is very sad. But it's my own situation. Just I am quite hopeful regarding the Anne and Lumo space, like almost next door. I think that it will bring some more open possibilities for sound work at large. I hope that this space can bridge what has been missing in Helsinki regarding sound space. But then regarding the Helsinki visual art scene, I think that things happen, but at the same time, I think it's good to visit some other place in Europe a bit to see what's happening elsewhere.
Are there some artists that you follow online or something like?
No, I'm very bad. Like it is. I'm very bad at that. That's so sad. It's very much a shame.
What are some artists that you have liked in the past or something? Maybe, on the website of the podcast, I have a section where I'm keeping a record every time, because I do persistently ask people this question, and trying to gather, people who inspired other people, so that then somebody can go there and just check. And so that's the reason I'm asking that.
Look, you have a book here. Like,
of course, you have a book.
20 years of surrealism.
Yeah.
I think that this was inspiring for me.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So some names of the surrealists that you like?
Yes. Then I have this one as well. The On the Commune, Guy Debord is good inspiration.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I can probably say a few final words that I thank you for having me today.
Pleasure.
And yeah, good luck with the practice.
Thank you so much.